Good afternoon, greetings, good morning, wherever you are across North America or internationally. Welcome to our annual special Travelers Segments edition powered by the State of the American Traveller. So future partners, and I'll introduce Erin in a moment. She was just reminding me that we've been doing this so long that when we started doing it, we used GoToWebinar and it didn't even have video capability. So more than a decade ago. So in collaboration with our good friends at Future Partners, we've been doing 4 quarterly custom editions for 12 plus years. And this edition takes a deep dive into traveler segments that are impactful, topical, and timely. We've got a truly all-star team joining us today on the webinar. So my name's Chris Adams. I'm going to be facilitating and pulling the Global All-Star together. And we're joined by our very good friend and colleague, Erin Francis Cummings, who's President and CEO of Future Partners. I'm sure she needs no introduction to just about everybody on the webinar today. And by the way, we had over 750 registrations. She's going to be sharing the hot off the press traveler segments research in just a moment. And then we're going to dive into a panel discussion with 2 luminaries of tourism, 2 experts, and indeed 2 commissioners of departments of tourism. So first of all, the idyllic, warm US Virgin Islands. Joe Boschulte is Commissioner for the Department of Tourism at US Virgin Islands. And then Mike Mangeot is Commissioner for the Department of Tourism in the great state of Kentucky. So Joe and Mike will join us for a panel discussion of what are the implications, the takeaways, and what all this means for destinations and tourism businesses, big and small. So let's just have a quick look at the agenda today. So we're going to be kicking off with the research. So Erin's going to share very quickly the traveler sentiment sort of insights, how American travelers feeling right now about travel. We'll dive into those 3 impactful traveler segments, the generational differences, how different generations of US travelers think about, plan, and book travel. We're going to dive into the issues around cost of living, price pressures, and which types or segments of travelers that's impacting the most. And then we're going to spend the most time talking about outdoor enthusiasts, in particular this concept of outdoor plus, how outdoor enthusiasts look for other reasons like great food, festivals, music, culture to pick a destination. And Kentucky and US Virgin Islands are 2 wonderful exponents of the outdoor plus marketing. So they'll be joining, Joe and Mike will be joining us in a panel discussion. Please make sure you share questions. Also use the chat to share your own examples, suggestions, or relevant links. So all of the resources from today are available. We'll actually be sending an email out tomorrow. So that will include the slide set, the recording, all the references and resources. So that will be coming to you tomorrow. And then, of course, they're going to be on both the Miles Partnership and Future Partners websites. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Erin, to talk about the research and insights, and then we'll join back again with our wonderful panel. Over to you, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here, and we appreciate so much getting to partner with you all at Miles. And I'm personally honored to be joined by such an incredible group of panelists. For those of you not familiar with Future Partners, we are a market research firm providing insights that shape winning strategies for travel, tourism, and hospitality leaders that capture hearts, minds, and market share, and bring the future of travel within reach. And we are here to open up opportunity to our travel industry colleagues, powered by exceptional insight. I will be your Future Partners host for one of my absolute favorite editions that we've produced with our friends at Miles, and that's this Traveler Segments edition. And we take a deeper dive into the factors that define and motivate travelers and how you all can reach and serve them better. today with the economic, let me go back here, with the economic and even social situation, perhaps making travel a haves and have-not situation, we're going to look at price pressures first and the segments most impacted and those that are not. Then we'll look at generations and how these age cohorts impact travel perceptions and behaviors. And then finally, outdoor enthusiasts, the aspects that make this a particularly valuable segment to target. These findings, of course, come from our The State of the American Traveler study, which we began in 2006 and have been partnering with Miles with for the past, I believe, 18 years. A brief review of the methodology. It's a tracking study in which we survey over 4,000 American travelers across the country each month. Data is weighted, and the confidence interval of the top line findings is plus or minus 1.55%. So let's dig right in. Price pressures, who and how this is impacting American travel right now. By all general accounts, Americans closed out a colossal summer travel season. 51% took at least one overnight leisure trip in July alone. Those are the highest levels recorded in the last 2 years. But as to why Americans didn't travel even more, we can look at what they said deterred them. So the cost of travel, the airfare, the gas, its general cost is far and away the top travel deterrent this year. Although the good news is these metrics are all down compared to last year. When asked how important it is to get a good value for the money when selecting travel destinations, accommodations, and other activities, 73.1% say it's very or critically important. And interestingly, while other generations are similar, Gen Z places relatively less importance on getting a good value in their travel decision making. By income, well, as you can see on this chart, even affluent travelers in the 200K and above household income level say getting a good value is important to their travel decisions. So with value so important, let's examine American travelers' recent behaviors in financing their travel. Over 40% of American travelers have used credit card points or rewards to pay for trip-related purchases. This time series is showing the percent of American travelers who say travel rewards programs are important to how they generally plan their leisure travel from 2022 to present. Well, over the past few years, there have been minor ebbs and flows. On average, just over half of Americans feel that these rewards programs are a significant part of their travel planning process. Of the list of major airline rewards programs shown to our survey respondents, the majority of American travelers use at least one. Since Q2 of 23, this has been on a steady increase, with the most recent data indicating that nearly 2 in 3 American travelers are currently using an airline's rewards program. When asked of the total cost of your most recent overnight trip, how much did you finance using borrowed funds like credit cards, buy now, pay later, etc.? 40% finance some percentage of their trip. The proportion of trip spend finance is fairly stable across age cohorts, although somewhat higher amongst Gen Z and lower in our 200K household income range. Just over half of those borrowed trip expenditures are repaid within 3 months. When asked what percentage of the borrowed trip expenses they repaid in 3 months, boomers and higher incomes do pay back faster. When asked if they agree they usually need to borrow money that they can't pay back immediately to finance their travel, Americans by a 3-to-1 margin feel more unlikely than likely to need to finance their trip. As you might expect, it's our younger and less affluent travelers that feel that financing need more acutely. When asked their agreement with interest rates being too high right now for them to be comfortable financing their travel, it's clear that high interest rates are definitely on travelers' minds and impacting their potential travel volume, as 48.8% agreed and nearly double that disagreed. Interest rates are having the largest impact on the lower household income group and their desire to finance travel, and apparently the least impact on the bookends of the generation, our Gen Z and our boomers. So in summary, positive travel sentiment is largely income driven right now. Getting a good value is important across income levels. Travel rewards programs are significant in the travel ecosystem, and nearly 40% of American travelers finance some portion of their recent trips. So now let's take a deeper dive into travelers by generation and what we can learn to reach and serve them better. So I'm going to cover financial and travel optimism, travel behaviors and preferences, and marketing insights of Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Baby Boomers. So let's start with financial and travel optimism. While on average, 32% of American travelers report they are better off financially relative to a year ago, outpacing the 27% who say they're worse off, millennials are certainly the generation feeling the best about their current finances at 41.8%. While on average, over 35% of Americans say that now is a good time to spend on leisure travel, outweighing the 29% that say it isn't, once again, millennials feel the most positively about spending on leisure travel right now. While Americans in general remain largely optimistic about their personal financial outlook, our younger travelers are also the most optimistic about their finances improving over the next 12 months, with 55% of these and 63% of millennials believing this. When we measure Americans' excitement for travel, fortunately, it remains at near record levels across all generations. One very important fact playing into travel sentiment, though, is income. So this is reported household income amongst American travelers by generation. So income rising by age, our Gen X is peaking right now. But it is our boomers who still say they far and away have the highest budget for travel right now at $6,459, over $2,000 higher than our Gen Z. So in summary, younger travelers are feeling the most positivity about their current finances, but still it's our older travelers with the larger incomes and larger budgets that they have committed to travel in the near term. So let's get into travel behaviors now. This is the average number of weeks reported needed to begin planning a 1 week long domestic vacation. The average is 11.5 right now. Our younger travelers are well below that, with Gen Z at 9.7 and millennials at 10.5. Although do note that these are longer relative to what people were reporting in 2023. When asked how many destinations they visited on their most recent trip, younger travelers tend to visit more destinations on their trips, nearly 59% of Gen Z doing a multi-destination trip compared to just 40% of boomers. Looking at recent international travel rates, millennials are the most likely age group to go abroad at 33.5% compared to just 24.2% of Gen Z. When asked about hobbies and passions, millennials are the generation most likely to be passionate international travelers, 51% of them saying they are passionate about international travel. And when we look at the international destinations American travelers say they most aspire to visit in the next year, while Italy, the UK, and Canada come out on top across the board, it's our younger travelers who are really driving American interest in France and particularly with Gen Z, Japan. This perhaps may be one of the factors. So going back to their reported hobbies and passions, younger travelers appear to have a significantly more diverse set of interests than older travelers. Gen Z 10.3 on average, are millennials 11.4. Here are millennials' top passions, and they are probably you're all nodding your heads, food and cuisine and international travel. So in summary, our younger travelers, they're all about international travel right now. They have shorter planning windows and they visit more destinations on their trips. They have a more diverse set of interests, highlighting really the importance of understanding their needs. All right, let's look at travel preferences. Remember, everyone wants value for the money except Gen Z a little bit less. When asked how often do you compare prices or seek out deals before booking travel arrangements like flights, accommodations, and activities, 69% is the average amongst all Americans. But a clear generational divide here, as older travelers are more prone to compare and look for deals. When asked how often do you adjust your travel dates or destinations to take advantage of better deals or lower costs, the generations show a similar likelihood to adjust travel plans to save money, except again, our Gen Z. When asked their motivations for taking their most recent trip, relaxation is the top motivator for travelers' most recent trip, but it's our older set of travelers that values relaxation most highly. Visiting friends and relatives activity is the second motivator for travelers' most recent trips. Oldest travelers are at the top, followed by our millennials. Older travelers are far less likely to have traveled to escape the stresses of daily life, but it is a big motivator for our younger travelers. 40% of Gen Z saying that's why they traveled. In fact, self-care is an important travel motivator for Gen Z and millennial travelers. Let's take a look at favorite travel brands. First, let's look at the top two airlines, mostly American Airlines and Delta, holding the top two spots, except amongst our Gen Z, were Delta led, followed by United. Baby Boomers slot Southwest in as their number two behind American Airlines. As for preferred hotel brands, again, Hilton and Marriott dominating the top two spots, with the exception of our Gen Zers, who seem to love the Best Western brand. So in summary, getting value for the money is important across generations, but our older travelers more likely to shop around. Relaxation continues to be a top motivator for travel, but different messaging around the concept is important for effective generational targeting. So our older travelers looking for that chill, while our younger set seeing travel as a way to escape the pressures from daily life and truly as a health benefit with the self-care. All right, I'll end the generational analysis with what we can learn about their media consumption and preferences. So our younger travelers are heavy users of digital influencers, 41% of these using influencers to plan their travel in the last year compared to just 6.4% of boomers. Younger travelers are heavy users of online video for trip planning, over 53% of these, and almost half of millennials using video content to plan their trips. YouTube and TikTok in particular reign for trip planning content. Look how high that usage rate is amongst our Zs. And as you would expect, younger travelers especially reliant on social media for trip planning. 70% of these and millennials using social media platforms for trip planning in the last year. Stark difference from X and particularly boomers. When it comes to magazines, most travelers say they read magazines online or offline, but older travelers read them more widely. Here are the most read magazines by generation. Clearly, when we're younger, we really love our celebrity gossip, and then something just as we're older, that AARP magazine being irresistible, I guess. And what about audio content? Podcasts are most popular with our millennial age travelers, 50% saying they're regularly consuming them. And the generations are perhaps most different from each other in their travel inspiration sources. Our Gen Z, Instagram and TikTok is where to inspire them for travel, and less so traditional digital. Millennials, it's Facebook and Insta, some traditional digital, us really traditional digital, and some Facebook, and our boomers traditional digital. So in summary, stark differences between the generations in travel planning resources and trip inspiration, our digital influencers, social media and online video. Really no surprise where you're gonna inspire younger travelers and give them what they need to book their trips. And our traditional digital, our websites and email campaigns would be the best channel for older travelers. All right, let's finish up here with an important look at outdoor enthusiasts and what we can learn about marketing to this really, really important segment. First, I want you to know that enjoying nature is a top sought after travel experience in the near term across all American travelers. And when asked about their trip attractions and activities on their most recent trips, you see here that outdoor-based attractions are amongst the very top. So now I'll walk you through outdoor enthusiasts, financial and travel optimism, their travel behaviors and preferences, and some marketing insights. So outdoor enthusiasts are defined as travelers who are passionate about at least one of these activities that you see listed here. And I'm also going to cover a segment that Chris and I are calling the Outdoor Enthusiast Plus. And they have additional passion for things like arts and culture and more urban activities. To give you a sense of the size and significance of this segment, 1 in 4 American travelers is an outdoor enthusiast. Do note, though, this is down from 35.2% in the peak pandemic period. So we all wondered during that time if the outdoor thing would stick. So it looks like some of those new entrants to outdoor in the pandemic did not stay with it as a passion and become part of that profile. Day hiking, camping, and freshwater fishing are the most popular outdoor passions amongst this segment. So let's take a look at the sentiment amongst this group right now. Outdoor enthusiasts are feeling good about their financial situation and travel spending, 44.2%, saying they're much better off financially, and 45% saying right now is a good time to spend on travel. Continuing on that theme, 58% say they will be much better off financially next year, and 91% are highly excited about travel right now. Outdoor enthusiasts are big spenders with a mean annual leisure travel budget of $6,259. Still, outdoor enthusiasts are value-oriented travelers, with 77% saying getting a good value is important to their travel decision-making. But outdoor enthusiasts price shop at the national norm of 69%, of comparing prices and seeking deals before booking. Outdoor enthusiasts are similarly likely to adjust their travel plans to save money as other travelers at 34.4%. Outdoor enthusiasts are more likely to be focusing on budget travel in the coming year, with 50.6% making budget travel an essential or high priority. So in summary, travel interest in outdoor activities may have waned slightly the post-pandemic reopening of urban travel opportunities. Outdoor-oriented travelers are value-conscious and will be looking for budget travel options. However, they have sizable budgets and it appears to be a good time to market outdoor travel products to them. So let's look at their travel behaviors. Over half of outdoor-oriented travelers or enthusiasts are also into more urban type of experiences. So basically, there's 2 types of outdoor enthusiasts. There's the strictly outdoor, which is about 10.7% of the American travel market. And then there is the outdoor enthusiast plus, and that's 13.4% of all American travelers. And the plus set has the additional passions for food, art museums, historical sites, wine, craft beer, and theater. Outdoor enthusiasts travel more than others at over 4 planned leisure trips in the next year. Outdoor enthusiasts are heavier international travelers, with more than a third saying their most recent overnight trip was outside of the United States. No surprise, on their most recent overnight trips, outdoor enthusiasts are more likely to visit outdoorsy destinations, nearly 1 in 5 visiting a national park, and similarly, state and regional parks. A third went to a beach destination, and more than 1 in 10 went to a mountain destination on their most recent overnight trip. But perhaps surprisingly to you, they're as likely or more likely to have also visited large cities, about 4 in 10 going to a city on their most recent trip. And interestingly, this is the same as what we saw back in the pandemic time. Outdoor enthusiasts, these are travelers that tend to visit more destinations on their trips. So in summary, compared to other travelers, outdoor enthusiasts travel more. They'll visit more destinations on a typical trip, spreading that economic love around. More than half of outdoor enthusiasts are also passionate about urban travel experiences, and this shows in the destinations that they visit. All right, I'll wrap up here with outdoor enthusiasts' media consumption habits. Outdoor enthusiasts are heavy users of digital influencers, over 37% using a digital influencer to plan travel in the last year. The majority are also turning to online video for trip planning, much higher rates compared to other travelers. They are heavy social media, over 60% planning, using those channels to plan travel. And their enthusiasm for digital mediums also applies to podcasts. Many more say they regularly listen to podcasts compared to other types of travelers. And good news for our DMO friends in the audience. Outdoor enthusiasts also report using official CVB or state government tourism office resources in the past year at a higher rate than other travelers. That said, unlike generations, little difference exists in preferred marketing channels for these segments. And if we take a look at their favorite travel brands, first we've got top 2 airlines. It is the same across segments. As for their preferred hotel brands, again, Hilton and Marriott 1 and 2 respectively for all. So not a big difference there. Let's look at their top domestic destinations of interest for outdoor enthusiasts. Same across the plus and non-plus groups. Meanwhile, other travelers have New York, Florida, California, and Vegas in the top 5, but Chicago rounds out the list, bumping Texas. All right, so digital influencers, podcasts, social media, all heavily used by outdoor enthusiasts in travel inspiration and planning. But reaching these travelers should have also an effective website and email campaigns being critical. So thank you for having me share these insights for you. Hopefully it opens up an incredible amount of opportunity, and I look forward to taking the discussion ahead. Back to you, Chris.
Yes, thank you so much, Erin. And if there's questions at the end when we get to the open Q&A, I'll invite you back, Erin. So we've summarized all the research and 6 marketing tips in an article highlighting your plus factor to outdoor enthusiasts. So you saw in the research there from Erin that well over half of all outdoor enthusiasts who are passionate about the outdoors and nature are seeking these plus experiences. Great food, great wine, great craft beers, great festivals, music, culture. And it's a key point of differentiation. So we'll be sharing that link out afterwards. And just before I reintroduce the panel, I'm going to run a quick little poll. So there's been a lot of debate about is tourism up or down in different destinations around the US across our many clients. We hear different things depending on the type and nature of destinations. Some outdoor destinations are down year on year. Others are holding their own or actually doing well. And certainly international outbound strong and cities are strong. So let's run a survey of the hundreds of people on this webinar today. So if we bring the survey up, you respond for your destination year to date compared to the same period in 2023 is total visitor spending. So we'll just keep it simple. Total visitor spending in your destination, is it higher or lower than 2023? So you can choose 5% or more, 1 to 4% up, flat or no change, down 1 to 4%, or down 5% or more, or you may be unsure. So we'll just hold it open for another minute or two. And while we do that, I'll invite Mike, and Mike's already back with us. Joe, if you pop back on camera, let's have a look at the results on what people are saying. So you can see that we've got about 13% say they're 5% or more up. The largest single response is 1 to 4% up year on year. 30%, around 10% are flat or no change. Just under 20%, 17% are down 1 to 4%, and then 4% are down 5% or more. So we'll share those results out as well. That gives you a quick little poll on how your destination or business is tracking against all others. So let me just reintroduce more formally Joe and Mike. So Has over 30 years experience in the US Virgin Islands government. He's held high-level positions in transportation, utilities, telecommunication, finance, and now tourism. Quite a career there, Joe. As Commissioner of Tourism, he's led the team on rebuilding the territory's brand, expanding their market reach, and increasing visitation. And amongst other accolades, Joe was named the 2023 Caribbean Executive of the Year by Caribbean Journal. So let me just introduce Mike. So Mike serves as the Commissioner of the Kentucky Department of Tourism, actually his second tenure in the job. You obviously love this job, Mike. Mike's got great tourism and economic development experience, including president and CEO of the Kentucky Association for Economic Development. And he was executive director of the Bardstown and Nelson County Tourism Commission, one of the truly great bourbon destinations on the planet. I can attest from personal experience, and no doubt many of the people on the call today can as well. They've just held, I think, and one of their big annual festivals. So amongst other industry roles, Mike is on the board of Brand USA, and he was recently recognized as the 2024 State Tourism Director of the Year by his peers and US Travel. So congratulations to both Joe and Mike for all those accolades. Mike, let me come to you first. We just saw in the research the importance of highlighting the plus factor: great food, music, festivals, and accommodation. So Kentucky's got a long history of doing exactly this. So, you know, whether it's whitewater rafting or rock climbing, caving, mountain biking, horse riding, etc., you've got, you know, great outdoor experiences, but you've always amplified bourbon, food, and other offerings. So can you give us a sense of how you approach it and perhaps show a quick example of your approach to marketing the plus factor?
Yeah, sure, Chris. Can you guys hear me? I had a little audio issue.
Yes, we can.
Okay. First, thank you all for the invitation and the opportunity to be here. As you said, you know, the thing about Kentucky and our outdoors is we're kind of an unknown. People know us for bourbon and horse racing, as you said, and you're going to show a little video here. I don't have any audio on it, so don't worry. But as you said, this is rock climbing in the Red River Gorge, one of probably the best rock climbing east of the Mississippi River. We have more moving water than any state other than Alaska. Kentucky is the only U.S. state to have a continuous border of rivers running along all three of its sides: Mississippi River to the west, Ohio River to the north, and the Big Sandy River and Tug Fork to the east. If you've ever heard of houseboating, it was invented in Kentucky on Lake Cumberland. Very first houseboat was actually created there. 48% of the state is forested, over 12 million acres. Mammoth Cave National Park is here. It's the longest mapped cave system in the world, 426 miles, and they're continuing to explore even more and more. I consider all day, more sandstone arches than any state west of the Mississippi River. But what we've tried to do is tie that into the other things that we're known for, like bourbon and horse racing, as I said. What a lot of folks don't realize is Kentucky sits on a limestone shelf, and what that does is it helps create the caves. It also is a natural filtration for iron in the water, so it makes us an ideal place to make bourbon. It puts calcium in the ground, so when our horses eat that, their bones are stronger and they're faster. You know, all that ties in. And what you've seen over the last 10 to 15 years, really, with the growth of bourbon is folks are coming in for these outdoor activities, but making time to visit one of our distilleries. They're going to the tracks at Keeneland, Churchill Downs, Turfway, and any of our 9 racetracks around the state, and taking time to visit and enjoying everything else. So we kind of position it as, we're very easily accessible to get to. We're a great surprise when you find us. And our research shows time and time. Y'all can stop running that now. I'm sure folks are tired of seeing it. But we're a great surprise. We're within a day's drive of 2/3 of the United States population. We border 7 states. So as Erin was saying in her intro and in her data, like most people, we saw a boom to our outdoors during COVID. People came to us because, you know, we're not a highly populated state, easy to get to, as I said. But what we're finding is our outdoors And our outdoor activities are not only sustaining, they're actually increasing in some areas. We've had some new investments. In one of the shots there, you saw one of the tree houses down in eastern Kentucky in the mountains that has come up that you can rent. So we're getting a lot of new investment in outdoor attractions. So we're kind of leveraging all that as really almost a lifestyle, right? You can come in, relax. It's a family-friendly destination. Even if you've got the bourbon, no, we don't encourage the children to drink responsibly. But that's really been our value proposition with it and how we've tried to position it. You mentioned our festivals as well, and I'll touch briefly on that. Yes, this past weekend we had the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, the original festival around bourbon in the world. This weekend we have a 4-day music festival in Louisville called Bourbon and Beyond, which has over 100 music acts, headliners like Sting and Dave Matthews Band and Tyler Childers, who's a Kentucky native. And so it's really kind of integrated into almost everything that we do, where it's the opportunity. And being such a small state and easy to get around, you can be in Lexington, our second largest state, and be in the Red River Gorge in 45 minutes in a completely rural area. So that gives us, I think, an opportunity and a way to market that maybe sets us apart from some other destinations.
Very good. Thanks for that introduction, Mike. Let's just pass over to Joe. Do you want to give us, Joe, a flavor of USVI and how it approaches our plus marketing? So it's obviously a beloved destination for American travelers. I believe over 90% of your travelers to the US Virgin Islands are from the US. So how do you think about marketing to these outdoor and nature lovers who are looking for something additional to just, their outdoor enthusiast area?
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you for giving me and the U.S. Virgin Islands an opportunity to speak what we have to offer in terms of outdoor experiences and just leisure experiences on a whole. The U.S. Virgin Islands is comprised of three main islands: St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John. And each one offers its own personality and cultural nuances that allow for any kind of outdoor activities. So St. John is our smallest one. We call it our, back to nature, beautiful beaches. Almost 70% of the island is owned by the National Park Service of the federal government of the United States. St. Thomas, which has the capital, Charlotte Amalie, more of a Renaissance commerce island, lots of things to do, beautiful beaches again, lots of shopping that gets you moving and spending, wonderful restaurants and bars. And of course, our third island is St. Croix, which is our biggest island. It's probably the most apt for this type of discussion. Lots of activities outdoors, from horseback riding to hiking to trails and experiences around. Mike mentioned bourbon. On St. Croix, we have 3 distilleries, 2 rum, 1 vodka, breadfruit vodka. So you definitely want to hit Kentucky and then come down to the U.S. Virgin Islands to sort of recover and stay in a nice peace of mind while you recover. But we are very, very proud of our cultural background. We've been part of the United States since 1917. No passport necessary to travel to us. So we definitely allow for our U.S. heritage, but we are in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. So many of the things you look for on a Caribbean vacation, such as the beaches and the libations that come with the pretty straws, and of course the wonderful cuisine, it's all around you. And most of the activities that happen in the USVI happen outdoors. We're blessed to be in an area, and this is our roughest month for hurricanes, knock on wood, but where the temperature is between 73 and 85 degrees year round with trade winds. So that allows you and makes you want to get outside because the weather is really, really nice for being outdoors.
And I think, Joe, you've got a short video, haven't you, that introduces...
Yeah, that would be a good time to show it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, naturally in rhythm.
But that's a nice snapshot of what you can see outdoors when you make it down to the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Very good. And it portrays very much that sort of outdoor plus. So just coming back to you, Mike, thinking about a recent campaign or program focusing on the sort of outdoor plus and the integration of, food, festivals, urban, etc., with outdoor and nature. What sort of practical advice can you offer people who are with us today on how to plan, execute a campaign or a marketing program that really drives results?
Well, I think this is going to be kind of pretty obvious to everybody, but be very intentional what you're going about. I think we take a lot of our outdoor attractions for granted sometimes. They just kind of come the background noise, but of your everyday life. But one of the things that we did this in 2024. The outdoors was the focus of our official visitors guide. So we wanted to create a companion piece along with that, a video series that would show those surprises that we talked about to really kind of bring people in, try to capture some of their authentic reactions while showing everything that they can do here in the States. We created a series called Fireside Fortune. We cast it, real family. We brought it out of Chicago, which is one of our top feeder markets. We brought them in and they didn't know day to day what their activities were going to be. So they would come in and at night sit by the fireside and talk about what they had done, and then they would open up a little piece of paper that would tell them tomorrow you're going fishing on Lake Cumberland, or you're going to go zip lining through the Daniel Boone National Forest. And what was great about it is it really captured that essence of what we see all the time when people walk in or come here for the first time and go, wow, I didn't know I could have that experience. From a result standpoint, we track everything that we do. We had over 70,000 views of the series on YouTube, almost 5,000 hours watched, average view duration of 71.2%. Everybody knows with our attention deficit disorder that everybody has, that's a pretty good number. More than 20,000 landing pages. We attributed nearly 2,000 trips to it by using Arrivalist. So it did exactly what we wanted to do. We were very, very pleased with the results of that. But again, back to your question, Chris, it really is. We wanted to do this very intentionally, to track and get those reactions on our outdoor opportunities. So we were really happy with it.
Yes, and we've shared in the chat a link to Fireside Fortune. So we'll be sharing that as part of the resources as well. Joe, what practical advice can you offer about pulling campaigns and programs together that feature outdoors, nature, but the whole plus factor of your wonderful festivals, the rum, the vodka, the food, etc., and running programs that work?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think one of the first things we do is we spend a lot of time in making sure that we market to the people that want that kind of experience that you just described, right? So 330 million plus in the US. We want to make sure that we're targeting the people that will take a trip, one, take a trip to the Caribbean, two, and three, most importantly, take a trip to the US Virgin Islands. So one of the things we found is people who take trips to the Caribbean love the outdoors, they love the water, they love the beaches. One of the things we found is they also love the people of the place and they love the food of the place. So we decided to make sure that we integrate and show exactly how people are when you come to the islands. People are outgoing, they're very friendly. We incorporate that in our video, so when people come, they feel comfortable talking to the locals as they move around. And then secondly, they feel comfortable mingling with having dinner out in local spots or having drinks out in the bars around the island. And to our surprise, that has come over very, very well and has led us into our new campaign, which is Naturally in Rhythm, which tries to represent that feel you get when you go to the islands. You want to be in rhythm, you want to move around, you want to be part of the island experience, quote unquote. And so we try to make sure that our marketing pieces, one, reach the people that want to come to the islands, and secondly, provide them at least a highlight of what they could expect when they come to the USVI. So when they make that choice, they come to the USVI. And then lastly, we want to make sure that it's vibrant, right? When you come to the Virgin Islands on vacation, we want you to know that it's going to be a vibrant experience if you want. And even if you don't want the liveliness, you could just look out from your beach chair and just see the beauty and not necessarily partake in the lively pieces as you move around the islands in your stay.
Very good. So let's talk briefly about the competitive pressures that destinations are facing. And so we ran that poll. As you could see, we had a mixture of destinations. Most were broadly up, but a significant minority are down year on year, and that includes some outdoor orientated destinations. If you have a look at the US travel, their national travel indicators, overall, the US is up 2.6% year on year. So starting with you, Joe, where are you at broadly in terms of total visitor spend year on year? And how are you thinking about the additional competitive pressures faced? Obviously, people have all sorts of choices now. Outbound travel by Americans to all parts of the world is up since before the pandemic. So how are you thinking about these two issues?
Yeah, we're very mindful clearly of the U.S. economy. As the U.S. economy moves, we generally, I think we, as our Governor Albert Bryan says, if the U.S. economy sneezes, we catch the flu, right? So we want to make sure that things stay well in the U.S. People have the disposable income. They make trips they want to come to on vacation to the Caribbean and to the USVI. But we're fortunate that we have two major pieces. One is the cruise side, which is doing extremely well, ahead of 20 before the pandemic, even though it was shut down for 18 months. And then we have the overnight guests that is still doing very, very well for us. Our airlift is up into the territory. So all in all, year over year, we're doing extremely well, significantly up from 22 to 24. 23, 24, we sort of, we call 23 our new norm when things sort of corrected post-COVID of how travel habits are going to be. And we're pretty flat or up a little bit year over year. But most importantly for us as a barometer is our seasonality curve has flattened. So it's longer now. So even though we normally used to go heavy winter season and then slow off in the summer, now we flatten the curve and the shoulder season is a lot shorter on both ends. So that's a very, very positive sign for us.
Very good. And I'll ask you, Mike, the same question. So broadly, where's Kentucky tracking year on year? And how are you thinking about this more competitive environment in terms of retaining your market share?
Yeah, we're coming off two of the two best years in tourism spending in our history. And we are still, we're pacing above 23 right now, but we are seeing a little softening. I don't think we're going to see the 5% and 6% and 7% increases that we've seen year over year. So that's a little concerning, but again, I think there is Aaron so eloquently showed us earlier, there's a lot of those pressures out there, which I don't need to rehash. But for us, a lot of what we have to offer our competitive states have as well. So we've got to be a little bit more unique in how we go about marketing to folks. We don't have any beaches and we don't have an ocean here. That's about all we don't have. But overall, we're very bullish on where we are. The great thing for us right now is we've seen a lot of new investment in tourism, in the tourism industry and the hospitality industry here, not just hotels, although that has certainly gone up. I mentioned some of the houses you saw, the short-term rentals, the tree houses that are gone in down there. We're seeing new distilleries almost every day coming in. So that tells me that people are bullish on Kentucky, and the more attractions and more places we have for them to come and experience, then obviously we hope they'll follow and keep our economy booming. So right now I'm pretty bullish on where we are.
So just talking briefly about those price pressures, cost of living pressures. We saw the research that Aaron shared. So do you have any examples? I'll start with you, Mike, first, of how value, and we could see that value is important across the board broadly, particularly important for outdoor enthusiasts. How is the state and your industry partners expressing sort of value in your marketing proposition?
Well, that's always been a part of our value proposition. Kentucky is a low-cost state in a lot of ways, and that is nothing new for us to have done, nor and our partners out there as well. And we're continuing that. For us, one thing that we haven't had until probably the last 10 years is really the opportunity to go after the luxury market. So I'm almost turning your question on its head. We'll always continue the value portion of that. Obviously, like almost every destination, family travelers are our bread and butter. They're our biggest base. That's who we go after. We have fantastic family activities, many of which are outdoor focused. But for us now, we're almost flipping that around to, okay, we've got a good foothold there, and we want to expand that. But now we're looking into glamping and some of that luxury side that we've not really been able to do before. And a lot of that's tied in with our bourbon, where you can now come in and buy a single barrel, 200 plus bottles for you and your buddies, and they want a high-end experience. So, it's a little bit different answer to your question, but that's kind of where we are.
Very good. And Joe, what have you got any examples of how the industry in the Virgin Islands is sort of marketing the Virgin Islands as a cost-effective destination?
Yeah, we are less of a cost-effective destination. Right now we price 20 to 25% above most of the other Caribbean islands. But what we found is our visitors, we raised our household profile that we market to during COVID. So the people that travel, they have the means, sort of like what Erin said in her presentation earlier, they have the means to travel. What we find is most important right now is that the expectations of the travel are met. So a luxury traveler expects certain things, and the destination has to provide it. If we don't provide it, then they don't come back. And I think we're similar to Mike on a different piece. We have accommodations across the spectrum, and of course we manage that. But we also are very mindful of our positioning of who we market to and how we market to, in terms of our visitors, what the sweet spot is. The sweet spot still is Gen X. For us, and the boomers are sort of fading off. Our marketing is tailoring more towards millennials in some of the new pieces that we do. So I think you have to be very focused on all of the visitors that may come, and slowly but surely invest in them, because times change. And a good example was in COVID. Early in COVID, we did really, really well. But surprisingly enough, the boomers and the Gen X weren't carrying it because they weren't traveling as much. So you just have to be very sensitive. And the one piece I'd leave with is that you just have to be very fluid. If you have a tourism group or DMO, you have to be very, very fluid, because things change in the market very, very quickly.
Very good. Yes, and certainly we're seeing in the research, and I know Erin can attest to this, that the affluent traveller market is growing year on year in terms of its strength. So just one final comment from each of you, 60 seconds or so or less. We've talked about traveller segments today. Are there any other traveller segments, types of travellers that you're thinking about as a priority for 2025 that we haven't discussed? Joe, I'll ask you that first.
Yeah, we have three major festivals, Caribbean music festivals. We call them carnivals or festivals, one in St. Thomas, the end of April into May, one in St. John, surrounding 4th of July or our Independence Day on July 3rd. And lastly, the last week of December into the first week of January in St. Croix, that allow visitors an opportunity to come in and experience 3 free music festivals with all the food and drinks you could imagine happening in a very consolidated, safe place. So definitely look us up at usvi.com. And you could find out all about our festivals that we have. And we see that base as a very growing base, especially for millennials and Gen Z travelers.
Yes, and I know Expedia did a big research report across a number of markets. Over 4 out of 10 travelers said that they would use a festival, an event, a concert as an excuse to go to a new destination. So, Mike, I'll ask you the same question. Any other priority traveller segments that Kentucky's thinking about for 2025 that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I mentioned luxury. I would also point to 2, and they're a little bit different. One for us is international. We feel very strongly that there's opportunity internationally for us to grab some market share, especially when you consider that over the next 25 years, most of the growth of the bourbon industry as a product is going to be in the international market. So if you're able to go into India or Germany or some of these markets and get some of that market share to come in, they're going to visit and spend some tourism dollars. So that's one. The other is a little bit different, and it's some efforts that we're doing with our economic development cabinet and our governor's office on workforce attraction. We've been very successful in recruiting some new businesses here, and we need some more workers. So what we're looking at doing is actually going after military retirees and trying to get them to relocate here. So we're feeding them first with a tourism message about coming to visit and see what Kentucky has to offer. And then our plan in a year or so is to follow up with them through economic development and do the more of the workforce recruitment side of it. So it's a little bit different. So some other offices are doing that. So we're following some of their lead.
Very good. Let's answer Jack's question. He put in the comments. So it was directed at you, Mike, but I'll ask Joe the same question. So how does your marketing efforts, whether it's to the traveller segments we've discussed or broadly, change by season? You know, how are you trying to drive business, particularly into the shoulder and off season?
You want me to start with that one?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah, for us, you know, our season really kicks off. Kentucky has 4 distinct seasons. I'll put it like that. You know, it's also why we're so great to make bourbon, because that goes into that process. We'll do another webinar on that. But for us, it really is. We have a little thing called the Kentucky Derby that we're very fortunate to have, and that really kicks off our season, and everything kind of leads up to that. It's kind of the kickoff to summer. As we get into the fall now, you're really starting to see us start to change, obviously, like everybody from a visual standpoint, but we're really highlighting bourbon right now. September is National Bourbon Heritage Month, and September and October are actually our 2 most busiest times at our distilleries. It's very hard to get into our distilleries right now. So what we try to do there, we know they're coming, so we're not necessarily marketing the bourbon side of it. It's all those other activities, horse racing, the outdoor activities, as we've talked about, our outdoor festivals. So many of our communities have small arts and crafts festivals or local heritage festivals that we try to push them out to.
Very good. And I've just put in the chat, we did a deep dive analysis of what we call signature local events and their tremendous impact on driving, particularly off-season, shoulder season travel. So there's a lot of resources there, including global best practices and a hall of fame that you can use as a source of information. Joe, anything you want to add on seasonality and how the US Virgin Islands goes about trying to smooth out the year?
Yeah, I think one of the things we do is we try to keep our marketing consistent year round. Let people know that you can visit the territory year round. It's not just for the winter season. We try to highlight things that happen throughout the year, such as local festivals, different types of ag fairs on St. Croix, for example, in February, just different activities that happen. We make sure that we have diversified our platforms that we advertise on, because what we find is once the brand awareness is up, we make sure that we have very, very strong relationships with our airline partners, that keeps the traffic. What we found over the last couple of years, once the flights keep coming in regularly, then the people will come on them. And that has helped smooth us out over the course of the last few years in terms of.
Key issue is working with your airline partners on route development that ideally is giving you year-round lift. So we've run out of time. Let's just thank again Joe and Mike. Tremendous that you were able to share with us insights, expertise, and examples today. And we'll be sharing out some of those examples and the follow-up resources that will be emailed to everybody tomorrow and will be available on our website. And with our very good friends at Future Partners in November, our 4th quarterly edition is our Stewardship and Sustainability edition, powered by the State of the American Traveller. So that will be the very latest research on how American travelers are thinking about issues around sustainability and responsible travel. We've been doing this as well for a number of years now, and so there's some great long-term trends we're seeing. So join us in November, and thank you again to Joseph, and thanks to Mike. Thanks, most importantly, to all of you. We look forward to catching up at an event and meeting everybody in person soon. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. See you.
Bye-bye.